The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
This episode of MMA to the Max is brought to you by Milestone Walker's Brewing Company 805. It's what I'm drinking. It's what my co-host is drinking. I'm Robert Taylor, along with Joe Hudson. What's up, Joe? How you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic, and that was a good intro. Firestone Walker 805 was my drink of choice, and all these 50 miles away from each other chose the same drink.
It's so weird how that happens. It's so
right?
weird. You know,
yeah,
it's
great minds think alike.
Now, to be fair, I was drinking some Dos Equis earlier, but as of right now, I'm on the 805. I do have some IPA for later after the show. We'll see how I feel. I'm not sure if I want to drink too much, but you never know how it goes.
You never know how it goes.
But, man, what a card tonight was. Holy shit. Can I say that with this card being as hyped as it was, and being as anticipated as it was, that it delivered?
It lived up to its hype, big time, dude. I was surprised because we talked about it last week, how every single fight on the main event could have been a headliner, a main event. You know, the main card was all main events. And dude, every single one of those fights, save maybe the co-main event, was spectacular, was exciting, was more than you expected from both opponents, and a little bit less maybe for others, but yeah. Which
is fair. It's totally fair. I will say, in full disclosure, that although a lot of people did not like the co-main event, and I could totally understand why, I get it. It wasn't exciting. I enjoyed it, and I was entertained by it, by the sheer fact that I watched a champion, execute the smartest game plan I've ever seen in an MMA fight. And it may not be exciting, and you may not like it or be entertained by it, but he put on the smartest game plan I've seen in. Obviously, it's been a long time since I think somebody had put on a smarter game plan. It was genius.
No, the game plan was smart. He did what he had to do to not lose. Yeah. All I can say is I like Woodley. I like watching him fight.
Well, I was trying to save the names for later.
Yeah, but I just think that his last 3 fights, his title defensive, have been all completely fight not to lose. He made the point in his post-fight interview, hey, look, I've been fighting 2 specialists, so I'm having to tailor my game to, just make them fight where they're not comfortable.
100% correct on that.
And I agree with him. I do. But he has become, in his last 3 fights, the most boring fighter in the UFC. I'm not faulting him for it. I get what he's doing. That's undisagreeable. I don't see how you can disagree with that point. How is he not the most boring fighter based upon his last 3 fights in the UFC?
I can't argue that. I mean, it's not very entertaining to the as a Jeff Daniels says in Dumb and Dumber, the lapers. We all know that's not the truth, but how it's said, I honestly can't disagree with that. I can disagree with the fact that if it's not entertaining, because to everybody at least, because I do find it entertaining. I was in awe of his strategic game plan. Could he have finished it? Maybe. Damian Maia started throwing some angles at him that I didn't even see Damian Maia throwing at him. But we'll talk about that fight in a minute, man. We'll talk about the fight in a minute. I want to just give a shout out real quick. We are in a UFC fantasy league, and we've been doing it for this whole year. I think you joined last year. I've been doing it for like 4 years straight, and I am undefeated so far. I'm not in first place right now, but that is not here nor there. I do want to start.
That is here, and it's there.
No, it's only here. It's only there because it's your wife, okay? And it's only 120 points. Right, it's only 120 points, and it's only thanks to a certain result of this event. Anyways, I want to give a shout out to the winner of this event from our group, Mr. Marvin Jimenez, Julio Horchata himself. You took the lead. You won this event. Congratulations, sir.
Well done.
So with that said and that out of the way, you weren't in the lead. Hey, you beat me this time by 15 points. Congratulations.
That's all that matters, dude. If it wasn't for the main events, I'd crush it. I always kill the prelims, and then it gets to the main event, I just overthink it or do something, man. I just poop the bed every time.
Well, Dominic Toretto said it best. You either win by an inch or a mile, but winning's winning, right? So
exactly right.
Let's just.
And that's why my wife was ahead of you by 15 points.
That's right. Exactly. Okay, so let's. Honestly, I don't want to just go through the card one by one, but there are a lot of fights that just deserve discussion, and we have to start with the main event. We do. We have to start with the main event. John Jones comes back from his suspension, layoff, USADA suspension, blah blah blah, and reminds everybody that he's still John fucking Bones Jones.
Yeah, he is the greatest fighter of all time, hands down. Daniel Cormier has not looked better in the first 2 rounds of any fight than he just did against John Jones. And this guy's undefeated as a heavyweight. He only loses to John Jones. If it wasn't for John Jones, Daniel Cormier would be the greatest fighter of all time right now.
Okay, so style-wise, I'm going to disagree about Daniel Cormier being the greatest fighter of all time, and I will still stick with Mighty Mouse. But after this performance and the fact that he finished him, and you, as well as a lot of our friends, especially a lot of our listeners, know how much dick riding I do for Mighty Mouse Johnson. John Jones is the GOAT. He's the greatest fighter we've ever seen. The fact that he finished Cormier, came back from that suspension, from that time off, looking like shit against Ovince St. Preux in his only fight in the last 2 years, and just looking that good and finishing Daniel Cormier. Finishing Daniel fucking Cormier. One of the most durable fighters of all time. The guy that has not been knocked. I'm sorry, Anthony Johnson hit him with his best shots and couldn't knock him out. John Jones finishes Daniel Cormier in the 3rd round in about 3 minutes. He's the GOAT. I cannot dispute this. I'm sorry, Mighty Mouse. John Jones is the GOAT.
I'm gonna agree with you, but I'm gonna put a little caveat on this for the future. I think Johnny Bones Jones right now is the pound for pound GOAT. No questions about that. But I think in the battle of GOATs, because obviously Jones and Mighty Mouse are never going to fight. If Mighty Mouse wins his next fight against Borg and he goes up and fights the bantamweight champion and wins that fight, Jones has got to do the same thing. You know what I mean?
which actually is a I like that you set that up. That's a great segue. That's a great segue to John Jones' post-fight interview. Holy shit, Joe. Honestly, my dick got hard. My dick got hard. And that's not hyperbole. I was trying to hide it from the rest of the people here. The motherfucker calls out, like, we've seen the news. We've seen the news. And we were not sure what's happening because the man has to serve a suspension still. But you know what? Super Bowl weekend, Super Bowl Saturday. John Jones calls out Brock Lesnar, says, if you want to know what it feels like to get your ass beat by somebody that weighs 40 pounds less, bring it. Holy shit, what the fuck? Sign this fight.
Oh, let's make it happen. The day that Brock Lesnar is off suspension, they fight each other. Please make that happen, dude. Because honest to God, Brock Lesnar gets beat the fuck up by John Jones.
Ooh, see, here's the thing, and here's my thing with that. I'm gonna disagree. Beat the fuck up. Okay, and I'm gonna make this point real quick. John Jones is the better fighter. He's more skilled. He's a way more skilled fighter than Brock Lesnar. We can both agree on that. There's no debate. Hands down.
There's no question.
That 40 pounds of difference will make a difference. I hate to repeat that word. I'm sorry. It could, okay, not will, but it could make a difference. Brock Lesnar could bull rush John Jones and get him on the ground. Can John Jones get off his back? We don't know. I will tell you right now, Brock Lesnar will put John Jones on his back if he wants him to. If he wants to put him on his back. You cannot disagree with that part.
No, if he goes football tackle and just bulldozes Jones and takes him to the ground, yes. But then what is Lesnar going to do? Just dry hump him for 5 rounds? Because
what is Lesnar going to do? We saw what Lesnar did against Frank Mir. I mean,
he dropped him with
Frank Mir was at the top of his game in that fight. He was at the top of his game in his fight.
He took Frank Mir in that fight, and he was dirty boxed up against the cage, and Frank Mir got cocky, and he got clipped standing up. And then he got ground and pounded on top of. It wasn't like he took him to the ground and he had a fresh Mir.
Well, yeah,
He was hurt when he went down.
Okay, so I want to preface this real quick that I'm not going to put money on Brock Lesnar over Jon Jones, and I'm not trying to discredit Jon Jones at all. I'm just saying that if anybody out there wants to discredit that Brock Lesnar in his size can just take Jon Jones down if he wanted to, and when that happens, we see what's going to go down from there. I mean, if you want to discredit the fact that might happen, you're asinine in my mind.
No, he's going to get taken down, but I'm thinking that if he tries to set up and get any kind of separation for ground and pound, Jones is going to be too quick and too slick and get out from underneath of him because he's a lot smaller than a Frank Mir, which means he's harder to hold on to. He's a lot leaner.
It's a very big possibility.
He's the same height, and he's a hell of a lot quicker.
But does he have a better off his back game? That's the question. See, that's what makes this so intriguing to me.
No. There's nobody at 205 or
even heavyweight that has a better back game than Frank Mir.
Yeah, you've got to go down to lightweights before you can find anyone who's got the same kind of back game as Mir, and that's going to be tough to find.
That man is so under. Okay, so side note real quick, and I think we agree on this. Frank Mir is so underrated by today's audience for what he's done with his jiu-jitsu in the world of mixed martial arts. A lot of people
didn't see him before the motorcycle accident.
Exactly. Thank you. They didn't even see it after the motorcycle accident.
After his comeback.
They didn't even see it after.
His first fight back was tough. That was against Brandon Vera, who was an insane person back in those days, and sliced him up.
No, actually, his Brandon Vera was his second fight back. His first fight back. His second fight back.
You're right. He fought a job runner.
What is that dude's name? His first fight back was I like to think the name was Mauricio. He didn't do much. He didn't really do anything. I'm gonna try to get this name real quick. Marcio Cruz. Thank you. Marcio Cruz was his name. Marcio Cruz.
Yeah, he lost.
His first fight back, he lost by TKO, which was a big surprise because Marcio Cruz was a big jiu-jitsu guy. And but then after that, Frank Mir.
He fought Dan Christensen, then Brandon Vera.
Yeah, he looked good against Christensen. And then, Vera kind of just... And honestly, that was just Vera... At the time, that was just Vera on a run, looking really good.
Dude,
so
I thought he was the future, man.
We all did.
Once he hit that skid, personal issues I heard going down in his life. Plus
it was the contract dispute with UFC that left him out for a year. He comes back. They were so pissed at him, they put him against Tim Sylvia, which was a horrible mismatch for him just because of the way Tim Sylvia fought.
Yeah, the size difference and the amount of steroids that he was on.
Full disclosure here for me, Tim Sylvia, if anybody didn't know him before he did his little series with Andrei Arlovski and started fighting scared and just clinching people against the cage, losing to Randy Couture and all that stuff, before all of that, before the Frank Mir fight, just if you haven't seen him, Tim Sylvia was a monster.
Oh, he was a beast.
He was the maniac.
Yeah, he was.
So, that Frank Mir, So, anyways, where were we? We just got off track here. Holy shit. Oh, we were talking about Brock Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar, the call out from Jon Jones.
Yeah, so Brock Lesnar, I think, has a chance against Jon Jones.
Yeah, I mean, of course he's got a chance. I would pick Jon Jones. I think the betting odds on that would be pretty damn close. But I think Jon Jones is just that much better of a natural athlete, and he's slick and he's skilled. And he's going to end up on the bottom, and he's going to have to take some heavy ground and pound. But I think once Brock creates that separation, Jones is going to be too crafty, and he's too slick and quick. But does he stand a chance? Absolutely.
Does he stand a chance? Absolutely. Does Brock stand a chance? Absolutely. I'm not going to discredit what Brock did to Mark Hunt was nothing short of amazing. I don't care if he was on steroids or not. He fought a smart game plan. It was a smart game plan against somebody like Hunt. And I know Jon Jones is not Mark Hunt. He doesn't have the striking power or the striking prowess of a Mark Hunt. But Brock Lesnar, with his size and his wrestling pedigree, can take Jon Jones down, and he can pummel Jon Jones. Will I stand by that prediction? No, because it's not a prediction. Will I fucking stand by that analysis? No, because it's MMA. Will I stand by that and say Brock Lesnar's going to beat Jon Jones? Fuck no.
Are you sitting down then?
Yeah, I'm completely sitting down. I'm not standing for shit in this fight. I'm just saying that anybody thinks that Jon Jones is going to run through Brock Lesnar does not understand the fact that the MMA created weight classes for a reason. And only a select few can teeter those lines. But when it comes to somebody that walks around about 220 pounds, and somebody that walks at 265 pounds, cuts to 265 pounds.
Yeah,
the question becomes a little wider. I'm sorry, it becomes a little bit more. I'm sorry, it just there's more than just the question of who's the better fighter. Do you agree with that?
No, I totally agree with that. There's a reason there's weight classes, because when skills are even, when all things being equal other than size wins, typically, right? There's no way that Mighty Mouse, with everything he has technically, can ever hit as hard as Stipe Miocic. He just can't. There's the physics here.
Yeah. And I'm on record with some people that say that John Jones can be a heavyweight champion as well. I think he can. He has a chance to beat Stipe. He has a chance to beat Cain Velasquez. All those people. But Brock's size is a little that brings a lot of questions into it.
No, dude, we could debate this all night, because it's a possibility. It's an if.
It's a great if. It's a fucking great if.
It's a great if, but we're going to agree to not really disagree. But I think you're giving more weight to Lesnar's ability to take Jones down than I am. But he'll take him down.
Which is fair.
Yeah.
It's fair. I mean, yeah, we're not in this podcast to just sit there and argue, even though I'm right and you're wrong. But it's cool.
Even though when we talk about ability to take people down, how many takedowns did Maia stuff? Was it 20?
You mean Woodley, right? 40 and slip on your part. 23 fucking takedowns, Joe. 23 takedowns. Holy shit. Tyron Woodley had a 92% takedown defense coming into this fight. And for the vaunted takedowns that Maia had against the cage in the clinch, he did nothing. Nothing.
He couldn't. I mean, Tyron was that good. I knew there was going to be a high volume of takedowns, but I figured he's going to get him down at least once, and when he does, he's going to choke him. But Tyron's takedown defense, that is the story of the night. I know it was a boring fight, and I get why it was a boring fight, but if you're a fight fan, and you're a technique fan, and you're a skill fan, 23-plus takedowns defended?
Yeah. Well,
Come on.
It's not even that. Like, okay, I get it's boring. I get that fight was boring. It wasn't very entertaining to the, like I said, the labors. Anyways, I get it. It's not that entertaining. But what Tyron Woodley did in the last 3 fights is nothing short of amazing. I was not the biggest fan of the man's fighting skill. And even after this fight, I'm not the biggest fan of his fighting skill, or fighting. I hate to say fighting skill. I'm going to contradict. I'm just going to take that back. His, I don't even know how to put it. He's got the skill. His fighting skill is amazing. That can't be disputed. His game plans, his fighting game plans, his fighting strategies, I guess would be the way. I'm not a fan of him, but the man is a genius. It's him and his coaches. He went back-to-back with Wonderboy Thompson, one of the best strikers to ever hit MMA ever.
Yep,
and
I agree with that.
Was out of the two in both fights. Some person would say, "Oh, the wrestler versus striker," and the striker dropped him. No, both fights, Woodley dropped him. Sure, it may have been boring leading up to it. He still came closest to finish in each fight. This fight against Damian Maia, wrestler versus grappler, I disagreed leading up to the fight. Because of Woodley's striking ability, especially against Maia, I thought it was a striker versus grappler. And it looked like a striker versus grappler when it started.
Yeah, it definitely did.
Yeah. And I thought it was, honestly, the last podcast I said Woodley would starch him, and he almost came close in the first round. I think if he would have dropped into that guard, he might have finished him. I don't think Damian Maia is as good off his back as he is on top control. I mean, I'm not going to discredit the man's jiu-jitsu skills and his black belt, but if you've watched his career, he's better off or on top than he is off of his back. So I think Woodley should have followed him in and maybe tried to throw some ground and pound. He probably could have got the first round finish. But even then, man, this entire fight, 23 takedowns stuffed, 0 for 23. Come on.
That's the story of, I don't say the story of the night, but that's the technical or data analyzing, looking at numbers, just kind of like, wow, 23 takedowns stuffed. 23. Most fighters don't throw 23 takedowns in a year. You
Yeah,
know
right?
what I mean? And Maya shot 23 times. Credit to him because that's exhausting. And Woodley stuffed them all.
It was
hats off. So let's put it. So who's next at 170 for Woodley?
dude, seriously, God, I mean, I would say Robbie Lawler, but I mean,
nope.
I could see the decision earlier was a little contentious. So I don't think it was contentious, to be honest. We're going to get in there in a minute, but you've got to, at this point, for Tyron Woodley for the welterweight champion. I don't know, man. Maybe match up Colby Covington and Ponzinibbio like we were talking about, or even we talked about Ponzinibbio and Lawler for the next title fight. Give Woodley some time, but you know what? Honestly, why not just do what was asked in the cage? There's a reason that Joe Rogan asked him. Give Woodley GSP. Do it.
Instead of the Bisping GSP fight?
Don't give a shit about Bisping GSP. Pardon my language.
Because you don't like Bisping
because
you're anti-British.
Well, there's a reason why we won. I'm just saying. No, I kid. No, I like Bisping. I just think GSP is an undersized middleweight, big time. He's undersized. He was an undersized welterweight his entire career. He could have made lightweight, and he was talking about it for the longest time. But I think Tyron Woodley and GSP is like GSP versus Johnny Hendricks. I think Tyron beats him if they fight. I do.
Well, with the takedown defense I saw tonight, yeah.
Tyron Woodley cemented himself as the best welterweight fighter. Not of all time, obviously. He's got to defend a couple more times, but he's in the running if he keeps defending. I mean, if he beats GSP, and I think that's the fight they're going to put together, there is no reason for Joe Rogan to ask him about it in the post-fight interview. They're setting that fight up.
Well, they're looking at money fights. They're gonna test the water. Are there going to be podcasts talking about that being a fucking fight? Is that going to be something that's motivating the people? Yeah, I think it is, dude. I would honestly rather see that than Bisping.
Then Bisping just stick and move against an undersized opponent for 5 rounds. Yeah, I agree.
I think it'd be a fun it'd be a fun exhibition of footwork. On Bisping's part for sure. For me, I'd enjoy the hell out of that. But yeah, you know what, dude? If I had to choose one or the other, Nazi's got my family. I got to make a choice. I'm gonna choose Woodley versus GSP. That's a better fight, I think.
How can you not at this point? I mean, in the rankings, you got Damian Maia, Stephen Thompson, Robbie Lawler, George Masvidal, Carlos Condit. Tyron Woodley's beaten 4 out of them, 4 out of those 5. So, and especially when it comes to 1, 2 of them, at least half of them are decisive in Lawler and Condit. Even though I'm a big fan of Condit.
Condit blew his knee out trying to.
He did. I mean, he did. But was he winning that fight up until then? No, he wasn't.
He wasn't losing it horribly. He
was winning.
Victory.
He was winning. You know my dick right into Carlos Condit. He was winning though. Tyron Woodley, and it pains me. I've watched that fight again recently. It pains me to admit that Tyron Woodley was winning that fight handedly. Carlos Condit is just a slow starter. If it was a 5-round fight, that's a different question.
He was winning it handedly.
He was landing on Condit constantly. Condit has a good chin. Anybody else would have been knocked out. I love Carlos Condit. If it was a 5-round fight, we might have been talking about a different story here. But it was a 3-round fight. Woodley was going to win that decision regardless of what happened in the 3rd round, unless he got finished, obviously. But I'm sorry. Woodley, he was hitting those leg kicks. Woodley earned that fight, and I hate to admit that.
All right. I just want to hear you talk shit on Condit. Dude, hey, Carlos, if you're listening to this, man, Robert Taylor, he lives in Victorville. Go get him.
No, I love Carlos Condit. He's one of my favorites, man. You know this. I love this man. Ever since WEC, I think he got robbed against Martin Kampman, and I'm so glad. And he almost finished GSP. I was so excited about that. I was jumping up and down during that fight. Whatever. Anyways, motherfucker, you're going to make me do that.
Head kick that put GSP on his butt. That was good.
Dude, he almost finished because GSP was coming off of that injury, and he was looking good in that head kick, though, just out of nowhere. I was like, yeah! I think it was the only person of my friends that was watching it that was picking Condit, but
he hit it behind that jab, didn't he? Memory serves, he took that jab.
Well, he also had GSP baited into taking that going for that takedown, and then Condit threw that head kick as GSP was going for that takedown, and all of a sudden
Yeah, we could talk about it. I think he noticed that when he would feint or throw the jab, that's when GSP would try to duck under. So I think he timed it right. Just got predictable. But
let's
anyways,
just say that Carlos Condit, if there was 10-round fights, would probably be undefeated.
if there was a ballot for who should be Superman, it'd be Carlos Condit.
Yeah, the man's a beast.
I think we're both big fans.
yeah, we're dick riders to the core on Carlos Condit, the natural born killer. I think we can all disagree on that.
Yeah.
Dude, so let's get into the next title fight real quick. Let's talk about. I don't want to talk so much about Cyborg Santos in this fight because what can we say about Cyborg? She did what Cyborg does. She won. She won by TKO. Am I right? I want to talk about her challenger that a lot of people have never heard of. Heard of. Yeah, the person that a lot of people have never heard of that came from Invicta. She was the bantamweight champion. She lost the title for maybe about 48 hours because of a ref's stupid instruction that caused her to get tapped out. Basically, if anybody's never seen it, she was fighting off an armbar. She stepped on the person's face, on their head, which is completely legal. There's no rules against stepping on it, on the person's head.
That's right.
In MMA, you can do that to fight a submission. She did that. The ref instructed her to remove her arm or her foot, which caused her to get tapped out. She was fighting the armbar before she was instructed to remove her head, her foot. Sorry, I'm so fucking this up. Instructed her to remove her foot, which caused her to get tapped out. At that point, she had no defense. She appealed it with the Athletic Commission. It was overturned. She was still the champion, remaining the champion. In the subsequent fight, she destroyed the woman.
Beat the brakes off her.
Yes, she did. Tanya Evinger, I want to give everybody a backstory here. She tried out for the Ultimate Fighter for the bantamweights. She did not make it because this was not something where they were giving you. Yeah, you were not fighting to get in the house. You were just there based off of what the UFC and their coaches decided, which was
they picked you on marketability.
Completely, 100%. They went off skill a little bit, but unfortunately, and this might be what I'm about to say right now is about to be a little. Not politically correct, and I'm sorry, but this is how they pretty much looked at it. I'm going off of Dana White's views here. She was too dyke-looking to be in the UFC. That is almost 100% fact. She looked too butch.
Is that what someone said?
That is what Tanya Evinger had assumed, and I'm going to agree with her.
Okay.
And if, obviously, Tanya Evinger is lesbian. She's gay. She looks that way. Whatever, who gives a shit? But she was denied. Yeah, that was one of the reasons she thinks she was denied, and I'm going to completely agree because there's no reason that somebody like Tanya Evinger should have been denied on the Ultimate Fighter. And I'm not trying to be PC here, but I'm sorry, she's one of the best fighters in the entire world, and she affirmed the fact that she is one of the best bantamweights in the entire world when she put that effort towards Christiane Cyborg tonight.
Who?
Christiane Cyborg.
I like how you say her name.
Christiane Cyborg? Yeah, I like it. Whatever.
Not Chris.
No, I like Christiane. It's a little more feminine.
It's
whatever.
pretty.
Christiane Cyborg.
It's pretty.
Christiane Cyborg Justino. So she lost by TKO and she got outstruck for the most of the fight. Yeah, for sure. But I was telling my friend Chase, he was asking me, and a couple of other people actually. He was asking me, does anybody beat Cyborg? And I said, you know what? Honestly, tonight is the only night that you will see somebody that could beat Cyborg. I said Tanya Evinger, if there was anybody to beat her at featherweight, at bantamweight, anything, because of style, Tanya Evinger was the one. Was I going to pick her to win? No.
No.
But style-wise, and because she's so tough, and she has she's durable, and she has the style to give Cyborg problems, I thought she could give her a challenge. Could she win? No, that's a different story. I'm not saying that to anybody.
Yeah.
And honestly, throughout the fight, I was largely proven right. She obviously lost the fight and lost all rounds, but she did give Cyborg some struggle in this fight.
Absolutely, yeah. It was a good fight. She's proved to have a heart of a champion and durable and technical herself and landing some punches. But yeah, you're just not going to beat Cyborg.
Especially at 145. You're not going to beat Cyborg.
No.
And I commend her for taking this fight on short notice. I really do. I do. I mean, she's a... God, do you say this? Because you know they say like she's a man's man or he's a man's man, but she's not a man's man. She's a man's woman.
The
ladies man. Tim Meadows. It's a Saturday Night Live reference.
She's just cyborg, man. It's like that. She's so ahead of her time with her striking power and speed that there's no girl around right now. And excuse me, you can look at someone like Tanya Evinger. She's a 135 pounder, and she did what another female bantamweight wouldn't do, and she did it on short notice.
Can I interject real quick and say that I'm so glad that Joe Rogan brought that up on the show, on the live broadcast. He called her out. He pulled her
she's
trump
10
card.
pounds heavier.
Yeah. He pulled the trump card of Jermaine Durandamy. He basically fucking straight up said Jermaine Durandamy ran from Cyborg. He said it on the live broadcast.
Yeah.
I love it.
Question Joe Rogan. How dare you?
I still do think that he was quiet tonight. Like Dominic Cruz anchored a lot of that, to be honest.
Oh, it was beautiful tonight.
But all three of them, I agree with your assessment from the first show that 3-person, perfect.
Yeah.
Didn't Dominic Cruz look huge compared to them though?
No, it's so funny. We were watching this and I was like, babe, I'm talking to my wife. I'm like, Zane, dude, look, babe, look at him. Like you think of Dominic Cruz as this little 135 pounder, but he's bigger than Rogan and Anik. I mean, Anik is he's taller than both of them, but Rogan's a big dude. But Dominic looked big.
He did.
I think Rogan's like huge. $190 or something. But yeah,
that was great. Yeah. So, anyways, back to the fight. That was crazy. That's a little side note there, but Chris Cyborg is the champion that she should have been the entire time. Nobody doubted that it was her division from the very beginning. She is the best female fighter of all time. Okay, and there's no dispute.
What does the UFC do now, though? Who do they get rid of fight? Do they get some more bantamweights to fight?
Megan Anderson. No, they get Megan Anderson. Just like they were scheduled to do. Megan Anderson. She had the personal issues that she had to pull out of the fight, but I see no reason why they shouldn't do Megan Anderson after this.
What's next, then?
You just keep doing you just keep looking towards Invicta. There's a reason that they have a stake in Invicta. I mean, the Invicta is the farming. The farm developmental for the UFC when it comes to women's fighting. You just keep bringing Invicta fighters over. Or you maybe just give a bantamweight a chance at a main event, at a payday, and a chance to maybe pull off the upset. I don't see what's wrong with that, to be honest. Because Cyborg is the draw, and she's going to bring money.
Cyborg Nunes?
God, I would love to see that fight because Nunes has striking. Unfortunately, Nunes has already come out and said that she won't take it. Which is ridiculous. I don't blame her either. I wouldn't take it.
I'm like 100 pounds heavier than her, and I wouldn't take it.
I was going to say you're like 6'6", 200. You wouldn't even take that fight.
Close. 6'4", 225, but still.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you should have stuck with the 6'6", 200. It sounded better. It sounded more svelte.
Yeah, that'd be super svelte.
Okay, so let's talk. Damn, we tried to change it last week, but with this type of card, we got to just keep going down the card. Honestly, it's a great card. We got to talk about Cerrone Lawler. Honestly, correct decision. Absolutely, I did. I agree. Yeah, 29-28 under the new scoring rules. Absolutely.
I thought Cerrone looked fantastic, and it was exactly the fight that we had talked about. With, a little bit more power, a little bit more size for Lawler, and Cerrone being more technical, like as far as like combinations and angles and stuff. And
yeah,
it turned out Lawler's gas tank, I think, won him the fight. That's how he picked up that third round.
See, that's the thing though, is I hate to give credit to Lawler's gas tank because what Lawler did in that third round was what Lawler does. It's how he took that fifth round against Carlos Condit. It's how he took that fifth round against Johnny Hendricks. It's how he came out and finished
against Rory McDonald.
Yeah, it's just what he does. He just comes out with like a man on fire. He came out in the first round looking like a man on fire, and I think that just was more just get this fucking lightweight out of my cage.
Yeah,
let me do it for Matt Hughes. By the way, side note, I smiled with glee when Robbie Lawler walked out to Matt Hughes' walkout song, Country Boy. It was an awesome touch. It was it got me in the heart. Matt Hughes, get better. Glad you're out of the coma. Best of luck to you, man. Big fan. if you ever listen to this.
Episode 4. Just
yeah,
go
episode
back,
4.
Matt Hughes,
MMA to the max, episode 4. We'll tag you.
Hashtag Matt Hughes. Yeah, we'll tag you in our share.
So side note, glad he walked out to that. It was awesome. It was a nice touch. I gave the first round to Robbie Lawler. He came out and he blitzed Donald Cerrone, which is how you beat Donald Cerrone. You don't give him the space. The second round, he gave Donald Cerrone the space, and Cerrone looked great. He was starting to throw
so good and crisp. And look at those combinations, that right, that left to the body, that right high kick following up. Oh, but
looked great. Third round, which is a lot of the contention that a lot of people have, is I gave it to Lawler. The new scoring rules, the new judging system criteria is damage over volume. And even then, I don't think Donald Cerrone landed that. He landed a lot of like pitter-patter type punches. Lawler landed the harder shots in that round. And I know it sucks. Yeah. And I want to shout out to a couple of friends of mine, Robert Livehart and Randall Martin, who pointed out some eye pokes in this fight from Lawler to Cerrone.
I thought I saw those too.
I thought I did, but Cerrone did kind of wave to the ref, waved him off, and said, "No, I'm good." You know, and to me, that signifies to me that Donald Cerrone is just a man, and that he's not going to try to play off that it's an eye poke, that it might have just been a punch. And he was just like, "No, it was a punch. It wasn't an eye poke, it was a punch." I'm going to go back and watch this fight later, so I could be wrong. So if you guys listen, I'm going to watch it. If I'm wrong, I'll admit to you guys on social media. Yeah. So for sure.
Yeah, we'll double check it and listen to his apology on episode 5.
yeah, I'll call it out. But I do think that 29-28 for Robbie Lawler was absolutely correct and just.
Yeah, that's. I wanted Cerrone to win. I picked him to win, but no, I was fine with that decision. That's the way I saw it. Rounds 1 and 3 to Lawler, and round 2 clearly Cerrone, but there was no 10-8 for Cerrone, so Lawler wins the fight.
Yeah, it was a great fight. Unfortunately, it was not fight of the night in my mind. I don't know what the UFC has deemed fight of the night yet, but it was not the fight of the night. Oh, what are they? You got the scores? You got the bonuses? What do they got?
My boy T City.
Performance.
Macchiano.
Was that fight of the night?
Fight of the night. Yes, sir.
Bullshit.
Dude,
bullshit. No, I great fight, but I'm gonna disagree on that. Oh my god.
Yeah, no.
Okay, so we'll just skip over to the last fight of the main card. We'll come back to it, but yeah, Ortega and Moicano was a great fight. It was. I'm not gonna lie, it was a great fight.
What?
It was.
You think that there's favoritism giving fight of the night to the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu black belt?
No, it was a great fight. I mean, it was back and forth. Unfortunately, I think another fight was better. We'll talk about that in a minute. But since we're on it, let's talk about Ortega and Moicano. Moicano looked great. Ortega looked great. They're both of their striking. Really, Ortega's really striking came leaps and bounds since his last fight. He's been out for a little while since the Clay Guida fight. Moicano was tagging him. I had Moicano up 2-0 going into that third round. He was tagging him, getting the better of the shots.
It wasn't a huge 2-0. I mean, Ortega was in there.
I wasn't comfortable with it.
Ortega looked like he wasn't in a fight as much.
I mean, yeah. Well, we can chalk that up to scar tissue. Even Nate Diaz and Nick Diaz don't look like it. You know.
That's true.
Okay,
I'll give you that.
So I wasn't comfortable with 2-0, but I mean, I could say 1-1, but it didn't fucking matter because Renato Moicano decided that, hey, you know what? Let's just take this Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt to the ground and keep my head on his fucking hip the entire time.
Well, our last conversation, or last week's conversation about this fight was on the ground. You thought that Macchiano was better.
I thought he was. I thought he was smarter. I didn't.
Apparently
okay, so that's
wrong,
not.
Robert.
Yeah, apparently I was wrong. I didn't think that you were gonna just take a man down and keep your head up against his fucking hip and allow him to just get that arm in guillotine. That was ridiculous. Which is crazy because he got his arm out and didn't even try to fight Ortega's other hand.
If you look at the replay, you can see how Ortega had it. It was a weird spot, but Macchiano's neck was getting just pummeled. There's a replay that shows it from the other angle, and it looked bad. Arm in or arm out, he was done.
Yeah, he could have fought it a little better. Honestly, he could have fought it. That's my thing. It was kind of weak in my mind.
I'm trying to remember if he got stunned by a punch first, or what happened there. But yeah, I can see what you're saying.
I don't think he didn't get stunned. He just went for the takedown to try to ride out the round because he was definitely up 2-0.
Okay. Yeah, well, that was a victory for me.
No, it was a victory for me.
I got a perfect.
And so speaking of victories, though, hey, good for where I take it. Speaking of victories, I got to give him some more shout-outs here because I promised these assholes. I hate to do it. I want to give a shout-out to my boys, Danny Percival.
The rest of our listeners and fans, I don't believe you're assholes.
Yeah.
That's Robert's perspective.
No, I'm calling these guys assholes. I'm calling these guys assholes. I'm going to call out, I'm going to say, hey, Danny Percival and Duke Herbert, congratulations. You guys called Volkan Ozdemir perfectly. Holy shit, Joe. Wow. Talk about an upset.
It was just racism on their part. That's all I'm saying. There's no way he was going to knock out Manawa in the first round.
You know what? There's also no way he was going to knock out Misha Cirkunov in the first round. Let's be honest, man. I'm tired of doubting this dude. John Jones, god damn it. He won the title, and I really want to see John Jones versus Alexander Gustafsson, and that is the money fight. Unfortunately, I'm not going to even say it unfortunately. It's probably going to happen. It's unfortunate to Ozdemir because of the fact that he has had the best start to a UFC career that I've ever seen. Especially, since the modern era.
Better than John Jones's? John Jones had a phenomenal
John Jones was
start.
built up. He wasn't fighting the top 10s leading up. Ozdemir just fought 3 straight top 10s. John Jones was not doing that. He was built up. Ozdemir was fucking giving people, man. He was just giving the Wolves the entire fight, or his entire UFC career. OSP, controversial maybe, he got the win. Misha Cirkunov, big underdog, should have lost that fight. Jimmy Manuwa, big underdog, should have lost this fight. He knocks Cirkunov and Manuwa out in the first round, both of them, and it wasn't even close fights.
So who do you want to give him next? Jones?
Give him the title shot. You have to. I don't know who's had a better campaign for like his first 3 fights in the UFC than Volkan Ozdemir. You cannot argue that. You have to do it. Is there money in Jones versus Gustafsson too? Yeah. Unfortunately, you can't stall Ozdemir's momentum here. He looks amazing. He's done
Jones
it.
is going to fight Lesnar.
Oh, God. Okay, let me bring it back. If they do the Jones-Lesnar fight, which I'm on board for, because you know what? Unlike, God, I hate to bring this guy up every fucking podcast because I hate him. Unlike Conor versus Floyd, at least this is an MMA fight, then you might as well do...
hate?
Conor. And I hate them both. Fuck Floyd, too. I hate boxing. If they do Jones versus Lesnar, because that is a big MMA super fight, MMA... I don't give a fuck about boxing versus MMA. You might as well just do Ozdemir versus Gustafsson for the title shot, which is what I was saying last week. If, DC beat Jones, they had to do the trilogy. Either way, now that you brought that back up in my mind, John Jones versus Brock Lesnar is probably the fight they're going to make for Super Bowl weekend. Underneath that co-main event, Volkan Ozdemir looking impressive. Alexander Gustafsson. Winner takes on John Jones for the title. I just can't see how you don't do that at this point.
I'm on board. That I'm on board for.
You're on board now. You didn't want to be on board last week.
Well, I wasn't drinking 805 from Firestone Walker Brewing Company. This week I am, so I'm on board.
Yeah. They ain't gonna pay us shit. Whatever. All right, let's run through some key lists.
The royalty check. They sent it to my house. I'll split it with you.
Ricardo Lamas defeats Jason Knight by TKO in round 1. I thought Hick Diaz would have had a little better showing. He didn't. Ricardo Lamas proves why he's the number 3 ranked featherweight in the world at that point. A little too early for Knight.
Yeah, proved why you don't put 15 versus 3.
Yeah, that's a good point. So we're gonna run through some of this stuff. Aljamain Sterling loses the first round in my mind. Takes the next 2 rounds over Renan Barão by decision. We both predicted this last week. I kind of changed my picks on the UFC fantasy thing because I got off the show. I was like, fuck, Renan Barão is actually still pretty good. Apparently his gas tank kind of sucks, so kind of hit myself there. I disagree with the judge giving it 30-26. There's no way that Aljamain Sterling won the first round.
No, Aljo lost it. I agree with the 29-27. That's how I scored it.
Yeah, I'm totally on board with that. Ortega versus Marcano, we talked about that. Calvin Kattar
Fight.
fucking defeating Andre Fili on short notice. And
Andre
it wasn't
Fili
even
has
close.
been a thorn in my side, man.
It wasn't even close.
Anytime I pick Andre Fili, he loses. Anytime I pick against him, he wins. I just don't care. I'm not even going to pick his fights anymore. They just don't work for me.
I know, because I picked him against his last fight against Hakron Diaz, and all of a sudden he comes out and looks like he's like a changed man. And then
that's exactly what I did.
Yeah, and then we're like, oh shit, he's turned a corner. No, apparently not. Now, this is not to discredit Calvin Kattar at all, because he looked amazing.
Not at all. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fucking dominant decision win, 30-27. The preliminary card on Fight Pass, Drew Dober
We don't want to
destroys...
get all those, but of those fights, what do you think, man?
Well, I'm just going to say that Drew Dober destroys Josh Berkman with a sweet overhand left through the guard for a fucking one-punch knockout. Jared Brooks defeats Eric Shelton by split decision. I had it 29-28 Brooks. I'm not going to argue with anybody that had it 29-28 Shelton. It was a close fight. And in my personal opinion for Fight of the Night, apparently they gave it to Ortega and Marcano. Alexandra Albu defeats Caitlin Curran by 29-28 unanimous decision across the board. And this was a barn burner, man. This was like a straight-up sloppy bar-type brawl, but it was fucking awesome. I'm sorry. If they can announce that Forrest Griffin versus Stephan Bonner is like one of the best UFC fights of all time, then they could give this fight of the night. This was amazing. Alexandra Albu is a bulldog. And Kylie Curran is tougher than for her own good. Too tough for her own good.
Yeah, that's the thing with Caitlin Curran, and she's super tough, super durable, but she takes a licking and keeps on kicking, but she just doesn't have enough power in her punches, enough speed in her timing or something. But yeah, Abu beat the brakes, dude. It was a good fight, man. It was a great fight.
It was entertaining.
Fight of the night.
I thought it was fight of the night for sure.
I think that they gave it to the Ortega-Marciano fight because there was a finish in the third round, trying to tell fighters, hey, I don't care how tough you fight for 3 rounds. If you don't finish, then the one that finishes in the third round is going to get it. That's what I'm thinking.
Which is fair.
Yeah.
I disagree.
I don't
it's
agree
fair.
with that
I think maybe like Ortega-Marcano because of the more technical, because Abu and Curran was a sloppy fight, but it was so entertaining. My God, was it a brawl. It was awesome. It was so fun to watch. So
Fighting in a phone booth.
Pretty much, man. Abu is just a bulldog. She just keeps coming forward. It was weird in the first round, though. She pulled guard. She was like out-striking Curran and then decided to just pull guard, which is so weird because I was like, man, she's going to lose her round on that. But I'm glad the judges gave it to her still.
Yeah.
I don't want to touch on a couple of things real quick that I noticed during the fight. Ben Askren in the UFC cage for Woodley's fight.
I know, right? And what would that make you think?
How upset do you think that man is that they sign people like CM Punk and all these other Brock Lesnar? I get it, their draws, they bring in money, but Ben Askren's one of the best fighters in the entire world. Why is he not in the UFC? I get his feud with Dana and the money's a bunch of crap, the Reebok deal, but come on, man, throw the money. He's one of the best welterweights in the entire world.
Dude, I agree with you 100%. And I saw him in that octagon. All I could think about was I want to see him in that octagon with his gloves on. I want to see what he can do. Like, he's one of the greatest welterweights ever to never fight in the UFC.
And at this point, he's going to go down as just that, which is really sad.
Yep.
I mean, I don't get. I get you want excitement, but the man's been finishing his fights. You may not like his style, but his funky style, he takes people down. He just short punches them until they just can't take it anymore. They open themselves up to more damage, and he finishes the fight. He's undefeated. He's one of the best welterweights in the entire world. He trains under Duke Rufus. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I really don't. And this isn't just UFC. This is Bellator as well. I don't get why you release this man.
Well, Bellator released him because he would dry hump everybody to a decision, and that was when the whole shit with the UFC came down. And Dan's like, no. I just let Jake Shields go, and he dry humps people for fucking 3 to 5 rounds, so I'm not going to hire another dry humper. he didn't become a finisher until he got to 1, where they allow knees to the head of a grounded opponent, which definitely benefits his style. But yeah, he wasn't a finisher then. He's a finisher now. Let's bring him on board. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I guess it's a fair point. I mean, he was finishing Bellator though. He really was. I mean, he did finish Koreshkov, who was welterweight champion after he left, and Carlo Musu. I mean, he did defeat the current Bellator champion, Douglas Lima, by a very wide unanimous decision in my mind. If I remember that correctly. I believe it was, I'm pretty sure it was 50-45 in my mind. I'm doing this all off memory, so we don't know.
Yeah.
Or at least I don't know. So I guess I could Google it, use the Googly machine, but I'm not going to, because I pride myself on having a photographic memory like that. I do have some news we want to talk about, since I think we've covered the UFC 214.
Yeah.
Daniel Cormier needs to fix his vagina, in my mind, not be such a poor sport.
I think he was concussed, dude.
It could have been, man. It's just, at least you could have shaken Jones. You could have shook Jones' hands, though. I mean,
he was concussed.
Show some good sportsmanship. John Jones came out better in that fight than Cormier by far, because John Jones came out humble. That was the smartest thing. We all remember when John Jones fought Lyoto Machida, and Gray Jackson came up to him after he let him drop after the guillotine, and is like, go check on him, get you some fans. Completely fake. That's why people turned on John Jones. That type of fakeness. This is the real John Jones. I believed him. I believed him here.
Oh, for sure. I said the same thing. I completely believed him, because I think he is a decent person,
I think he respects Cormier's skills. He's better than Cormier. Yeah. Cormier is the second best light heavyweight. It really is.
He respects Cormier as a man, not necessarily his skills as a fighter, but he respects him as a man, and he meant it. And
respects him as a man, hates him as a person. I'm thinking, like, personally.
As a competitor, I gotta fight this guy. I can't be like, yeah, he's a good person, he's great. No, I gotta punch this guy in the face. I don't want to think about what a good father he is as I'm punching him on the ground.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah. So I'm glad they made friends. And I think if Cormier shows up to the post-fight press conference, that shows the kind of character he has. If he's capable, if he's not
for concussed. Sure.
And I'm sure he'll handle it like he always does. Cormier's a class act. Like, I love Jones because he's a fun fighter, fun guy to watch, but I love DC because he's a phenomenal person and a fun guy to watch fight. So hopefully Jones can be more like Cormier, like he said, be that good of a man. So cheers, hats off to him. You got to. I do. Jones lost his mom during this training camp.
That's a good point. Joe, I just looked up online. I want to get some breaking news here, at least for our podcast, if anybody hasn't noticed or seen this yet. Dana White confirmed that GSP and Bisping fight is back on.
Dude, I predict these teams.
We're not surprised here, apparently. I didn't think it was... I thought they should have given it to Woodley, but I guess they're going to... Yeah, it's still on. So GSP and Bisping. I will take GSP in this fight. I will take Bisping in this fight by decision.
And the winner of that fight is going to fight my boy, Bobby Knuckles.
Bobby Knuckles, Robert Whittaker. So we are going to get Robert Whittaker and Michael Bisping in my mind. So I want to talk about a fight real quick that was announced that I know you're all about it. And I'm all about it, but it's from our good friends at Bellator.
Oh, yeah, so
Riverside's own Lorenz Larkin, the Monsoon.
5-1, baby.
Yes.
Hey,
and
me and
Paul
you, Lorenz, we're from
daily.
The same city, brother. That's right. Riverside represent, dude. I think, this is a tough thing, because I think stand-up-wise, Lorenz can hang with them, but Daly's got such power. I want to see Lorenz use his jab, work it in, and boom, take him down and beat the shit out of him like Rory McDonald did. That's what I want.
It's such a hard fight to call because they are both predominantly strikers. Wrestling advantage, I would give slightly to Larkin. But I don't think that's going to even come into play, to be honest. I just think it's going to be striking. And when Larkin just has a straight-up striking battle, it's been kind of troublesome for him because he overthinks a lot of his shots that he throws, a lot of his punches. Aside from the Lawler fight, I mean, at middleweight, obviously, but this is at welterweight, and Daly is one of the best to ever do it.
This is true.
And I like Larkin because, Riverside represent.
That's right, dude.
I lived there. I was born there pretty much. So I was born in Riverside County. So I got to go for Larkin, but I have to be smart in what I pick.
Again, I think Lorenz Larkin can take him to the ground. Thank you, 805 for the slur.
Yeah,
and I think he can. I think he will. I think he'll be smart. I think he'll do it right.
It's a hell of a fight. It's a hell of a fight that Bellator's putting on. I'm excited for it. I can't wait. That was actually a really ingenious fight that the Bellator did put on, especially with both guys coming off losses, both guys being strikers, both guys being ranked. It's very smart on their part. I'm kind of surprised that they decided to put that fight on.
Yeah, it seems like the right fight though, because who are you going to give Daly next? He said he was going to fight. Oh crap, my brain is freezing on me, dude. That badass karate
MVP.
striker.
He wanted to fight MVP.
MVP, thank you. Yeah, Michael Venom Page, and then whatever that fell through. So like, who else do you give him?
Yeah.
Who else do you give Daly? You're not going to give him Douglas Lima again. That just maybe, but Lorenz Larkin, the guy that just lost to him, and then I think that you've got to give Rory McDonald a title shot now.
Oh yeah, McDonald's got the title shot. So
how do you see that going down?
Oh, I think McDonald beats Douglas Lima by far, easily.
I think he finishes him in the second round.
I think so. I think he finishes him. Well, if the McDonald that shows up that's tentative, he's still one of the best. Even the most tentative Rory McDonald is still one of the best welterweights in the entire world. He can cruise to a decision against Douglas Lima, and I consider Douglas Lima one of the best welterweights in the entire world as well. That speaks volumes of how high I consider Rory McDonald's skills. But I think
Rory
he's going to show up and destroy him.
The Red King, the look in his eye on that last fight, dude, that was the Rory of old. Like he's coming to prove something now. You know, he did that in the UFC and he got his title fight, and then he got his fight against Wonder Boy, and it was like, yeah, I'm at the top of the top. He's got something to prove again. He's got to prove that he is the best fighter in the world, and he's going to beat everybody up so bad. And then he's going to run his contract there. He's going to go back to the UFC, and he's going to dominate people again before he's even fucking 30.
I'm going to completely agree. I think that's going to happen. Joe, at this point, hey man, I could pause this. You want to take a pee break real quick? Nice pee break. We could resume right afterwards.
Yeah, let's go. Let's
go take the pee break. Hey guys, we'll be right back in a second. For the podcast, it'll just be almost instantaneously. So hey, be right back.
You know how long we pee.
Be right back, gentlemen. Oh, holy shit, that feels so much better. Fucking, we are back after that short break. I'm pretty sure it was so instantaneous for a lot of you people. So whatever. It was a good while for us. It felt so good.
They won't even notice.
They won't even notice. The only reason they know is because we said something.
So what do you got? What do you got in the next fight? The next card coming up with the flyweight main event.
So this card's coming out, going to happen 2 days after my birthday. By the way, my birthday's August 3rd. Just so everybody knows, happy birthday to me on Thursday. Yippee. Anyways, next Saturday, UFC Fight Night, headlined by Sergio Pettis and Brandon Moreno. Holy shit, this is an amazing fight, especially for the flyweight division. We got Sergio Pettis, who's on a roll, and Brandon Moreno, who came out of the Ultimate Fighter as one of the lowest ranked, I think the lowest ranked fighter on the tournament, eliminated his first round, comes in. He's now 2-0 in the UFC, finishing Luis Smolka and Dustin Ortiz. Fucking amazing. Going against Sergio Pettis, who's coming up. Yeah, especially Ortiz. And now he's going against Sergio Pettis, who kind of like stalled, kind of faltered in his first couple of fights at UFC. He's found his groove. He's looking great.
Yeah, this is a tough fight for me to pick. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great fight and a great main event. But I think Pettis does it. Yeah, talk to me tomorrow and I'll tell you the line.
Yeah, see, right now I think they're both super skilled athletes. I think they're two of the better flyweights in the division. Pettis' striking is phenomenal, especially for that flyweight division. But Brandon Moreno's grappling is unworldly for what he's done. I have picked against him both fights in the UFC, and at this point, I'm not picking him against him anymore. I'm going to pick Brandon Moreno in this fight.
Yeah, talk to me tomorrow. I might change my mind.
I just can't pick against him anymore. But no, that's fair. That's fair. Co-main event on this fight is Rando Marcus coming off of that. I believe it was a split decision. Might have been a unanimous decision, but I think it was a split decision of former UFC strawweight champion Carlos Esparza. Excuse me, taking on super hyped at one point Alexa Grasso. I know she was super hyped coming in the UFC. They were hoping to use her to break into the Mexican market, the Mexico market. She ended up losing that decision, dominant in my mind, to, I believe it was Felice Herrig. I could be wrong on this. I'm trying to do this all in memory. I could be wrong, but I believe she lost her UFC debut to Felice Herrig.
Yeah, I don't remember, but I think you're right, if memory serves, which often it doesn't.
I'm
getting old, brother. I'm getting old. My memory's not what it used to be.
It happens, man. It happens.
Walking 37 years old.
I have a hard time picking this fight because the fact is, Alexa Grasso did come off of that fight with Felice Herrig, and her striking, which is what she was vaunted for and hyped for, did not look good. And I'm going to apologize by looking this up real quick. It was her second fight in the UFC. She did take a unanimous decision over Heather Jo Clark, which is not much to go off of, to be honest. Sorry, Heather Jo Clark. But
it was in Mexico City, so she has stamina to go those 3 rounds and keep pressure on.
That's a good point, but she was dominated in my mind by Felice Herrig. And she's going against Rando Marcos, who's a dominant wrestler and grappler. And how do you see this fight going?
Well, just the same way it went with Felice Herrig. Felice takes her down, beats her up.
You think Rando Marcos does the same thing?
Takes her down and beats her up. She's not going to try and strike with her. That's not what Randa does. She's going to double leg. She's going to push you against the cage. She's going to take you down and beat you up. I think she does it again. Unanimous decision.
No arguments there. I have the same thing. I completely agree. I think Alexa Grasso is great. I think she's going to be a star eventually. I think she's just a little too young in her career. I know she's 23. She should probably be developing her skills. Just a little too much, a little too soon. She should have had more time, I believe, in Invicta to get her skills down. She only had 4 fights. I know that's a lot for everybody. She went 4-0 undefeated. It's not good. I mean, Invicta, UFC, way different.
Yeah, but I think Rando Marcos is the right matchup for her at this point in her career. I think it's a good test. You know what I mean? If she can not get the shit kicked out of her and taken down easily by Rando Marcos, then all right, maybe she deserves to stay here. Or you put her back down, let her fight there for a little while.
I can't help but think that it might be a step down for Marcos, considering she did have that split decision win over Carlos Esparza. I didn't agree with the decision. A lot of people didn't. A lot of journalists didn't as well. But the fact is, it's in the record books. It is Rando Marcos defeating Carlos Esparza. I think she should have probably got a higher ranked opponent. Maybe even Felice Herrig, even though they did fight in the Ultimate Fighter House. It doesn't really matter.
Oh, for
probably
Marcos.
Should have done. Yeah, for Marcos. They probably should have done the rematch.
No, it's a step down for Marcos, but a step up for Grasso.
For sure.
So, I mean, not a step up from Herrig, because I think Herrig's better than Marcos, but it's a step in competition that's still above her to prove if she deserves to be in there. I think it's the right step. So we'll see what happens.
Speaking of Felice Herrig, Jesus, has that woman come on recently in the UFC? Holy shit!
Right?
She's no longer just some girl trying to be sexy and do nothing but pin up shots and everything, trying to be like, oh yeah, I'm a sexy fighter. She
failed at being sexy, but she succeeded at being a badass fucking fighter.
She's got the body, but the face is a little weird. But she's got the body. But Jesus Christ, is she coming on with her fights lately?
She's literally beating the shit out of girls.
Justine Key, take that.
She shit herself in the middle of the octagon for the world to see. And she her response to people's criticism was, "Hey, shit happens."
So let's talk about the next fight for the next card. Alan Jouban making his return. I know, big fan favorite, big fan of ours, or a fighter that we're a fan of. We like him, but at the same time we recognize his skills. Coming off that very disappointing, I guess I could say, loss to Gunnar Nelson, even though I think we all saw it coming.
Yeah.
Just striking jiu-jitsu wise. He's coming off that loss. He's going up against a man who is undefeated in the UFC and was unjustly had his last fight in the UFC overturned because of, guess.
Marijuana?
Yep, marijuana in Houston, fucking Texas.
What?
Nico
You don't
Price.
fight in Texas, folks.
Yeah, don't fight in Texas. They're back asswards. Or ass backwards, as they say. Anyways, he's 2-0 in the UFC. He submitted Brandon Thatch in his debut. Not surprising, because Thatch's ground game sucks. Had a great fight against Alex Moreno. Ended up finishing that in the second round. I believe if I remember correctly, it was at UFC 200, or not the UFC 200, sorry, but the Fight Night for the Super Bowl weekend. What was that? That was Bermudez versus Zombie. Zombie's big, long-awaited return. He finished Alex Moreno, and I believe Moreno could not answer the bell after the second round, if I remember correctly. He was basically TKO'd at the end of the second, and they just couldn't keep going. But he had it overturned, thanks to marijuana. Either way, Alan Jouban is going to take on Nico Price. How do you see this fight going? Because I think Nico Price is going to run over Alan Jouban.
After seeing what Gunnar did to him so quickly and easily, I want to pick Jouban. I want to pick him. I really do, because you
like him.
Beautifully chiseled men who are models. We kind of stick together. The two of us, dime pieces. We gotta stand up against you ugly folk who try to pick on us like Nico Price and his fucked up haircut. Nico Price is gonna beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, and I hate to say that, because I like Jouban too. I do. I recognize this.
It's a bad style matchup.
It is. I think Nico Price is a future champion if he could continue to improve his skills, because he's doing great so far.
Yeah.
He's only got one. He's 9-0 with one no contest, and only one of those fights went to decision. He's finished them all, and most of them in the first round. The man is skilled, so
he's legit.
He's very legit, and I just don't think Jouban offers him anything he hasn't seen, and I don't think this just bodes well for Jouban.
Yeah, if he could keep him from getting too close and work off his jab, he stands a good chance. But if he gets pressured too much, which Nico's going to do, he's going to lose.
Yeah, completely agree. So let's talk about one more fight, real quick. I don't think it's even on the main card. It might be on the prelim main event. I just want to talk about this real quick because it is Sam Alvey, Smiling Sam, taking on former light heavyweight champion of the world, Rashad Evans, in his second fight at middleweight.
Yeah, it's not a good fight for Rashad.
I don't disagree with that. That's the sad part. I don't see Rashad. I think he needs to I think he's done.
Yeah, I think Sam is good enough with his footwork and his jab and circling. He's going to stay away from Rashad. We'll see, though, if Rashad can take him down and hit him with some of that ground and pound, or even cut the cage off, then, he stands a chance. But I think Alvey's just going to – it's going to go to decision. It's going to be a fun fight, but I think Alvey's going to do enough to win it. It's going to be a brutal fight for Rashad.
Yeah, if Evans can rediscover the fact that he is a wrestler at heart and he wants to just shoot on takedowns and take down Alvey, he's going to take down Alvey, and he's going to win this fight. Unfortunately, Evans has this tendency to think that he's this world's greatest boxer and thinks he can strike with anybody, and it's not going to happen. I do think that Evans is going to stand way too long with Alvey, and it's going to be a knockout, probably in second or third round.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that either. I think it goes the distance, but it's basically going to go the same way you said. He's going to get kind of punched apart.
Yeah. All right. So we're on there. Do we have anything else to talk about? I think we're there. Then I think I just wanted to talk about that fight mostly. Nothing big for anybody. There is that fight coming up next week. I hope everybody watches it. It is a very important fight. I don't care what your feelings are on the flyweight division. If you are an MMA fan, you should be supporting the flyweight division because it is one of the most entertaining divisions in the UFC or MMA in general. So support it. Don't let them close it like has been threatened, because that would be a terrible, terrible tragedy to the world of MMA, especially with UFC. Support the flyweight division. Prove to Dana White and the UFC that they are draws and they are great fighters that people want to watch. I cannot implore that most from anybody.
I would second that motion.
I'm glad you do. I think we're done with this. Let's throw some plugs out that people might want to see.
You want to get in contact with me on my social media accounts? It's jhud45 on Twitter and Instagram. How do they get a hold of you, Robert?
How to get a hold of me? So here's the thing. Want to hear something funny? Apparently, you can change your Twitter account, like the hashtag or the @ part. Anyways, you want to get a hold of me? It's on Twitter @itsrockrobster, no apostrophe. And if you want to get a hold of me on Instagram, @FlashRockRobster, hit me up. We also have an Instagram for our page that is @MMA to the Max Show. Hit us up, let us know what you think, or hit us up on Facebook at facebook.com/MMA to the Max podcast. We put all our shows up there. We will be putting this one up when it is finally uploaded, and let us know what you think. Until then, just let us know what you think on our social medias. Trust us, we have thick skin. We're adults. We can handle it.
Insults are great. Comments are great. Just say hi.
I promise not to cry in the corner about it. I don't do it every show while holding a little bunny doll. I promise.
He does. He really does. I've seen
totally
it. It's sad.
I'm sorry. All right, let's end this, man. So,
all right, buddy.
For the W2M Network, I am Robert Taylor.
And I'm Joe Hudson.
This is MMA to the Max. We'll see you next week. Take care.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.